And when I returned to my Balanta village, they gave me the name Brasa Mada, which means he who knows how to do. So I don't use the slave or colonizer name anymore. I use my real name.
You must know who you are and where you're coming from. Yes.
The meaning of our names.
The Western name and took the pure African name.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, but in doing so, you are also going to learn something very important about our shared history, and also something that is important about the future and our relationship as diverse African people. Okay, so I am the son of Jeremiah Blake, the son of his father, Jeremiah Blake, the son of Stephen Jacob Blake, the son of John Addison Blake, the son of Yancy Blake, the son of Jack Blake, who is the son of a man we call Brasa and Chaba, the crocodile. This is my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. As a little boy of about 8 years old, one day he went to the market with his mother in the village of Unche in Guinea-Bissau. And on the way to the market, he and his mother were ambushed by Mandinka and Bijago manhunters who captured the boy and sold him to Portuguese slave traders and took the boy to the coast of Cacheo, Guinea-Bissau. Now, Brasa and Chaba was held in chains with all the other people they had captured from the interior and brought to the coast. Can you imagine the horror and the terror of being a young child and being put in captivity and held in chains and you don't know what is going to happen? One day, Brasa and Chaba was taken and he was put on one of these big boats. And as the boat was leaving, the only thought in this child's mind was, if I could break these chains and jump overboard, I could swim back to my homeland and save myself. This was the last thought and prayer in his spirit as he left his homeland, never again to return. After 6 weeks of being chained and being put in the bottom of the ship with not enough space, you can't even stand up, given the worst kind of food, having to do the business, as they say here, right there, there's no toilet, and having to live like this for 6 weeks as you are traveling over these great waters, which in our tradition, right, we were told took us to the land of evil spirits. When the ship arrived in Charleston, South Carolina, they took Brasa and Chaba off the ship and they take them to a market where he was sold to an Englishman and brought to a plantation in North Carolina. The boy did not know how to speak the language, and whenever he tried to do something natural to him, he was punished. Because he was so young, he never was able to go through the Balanta Fandago, the initiation system, where he would learn the culture and the secrets of the Balanta community. He was a young boy, he didn't know any of these things. So he did not have the knowledge of really who he was. And so, through this experience of enslavement in America, after many years and decades, no longer speaking his language, no longer saying the names of Unche, the village he came from, no longer speaking to other Balanta people, only knowing that he must serve this white slave master, and if he does not obey, he will be punished or killed. Well, he has his son. His son is born into this experience. He knows nothing of his ancestral homeland. But somehow the spirit to return still exists inside his son. And that spirit exists inside his son, and 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 then was born in me. Now, when I was 4 years old, my family, we went to Charleston, South Carolina, the very place where the ship landed and Brasa and Chabra came off the boat. I was 4 years old, and when my foot touched the water, right, I have this reaction. Right, it's tremendous. It's like lightning, and I start crying and screaming. My father is watching me. He said, "What is this?" He don't understand what is happening to me. My father thinks it is, I'm afraid of the water. So at that moment, my father decided, when we return back to our home, you are going to take swimming lessons. And that is how I started learning how to swim. And as our professor told you, I became a great swimmer in America, a champion swimmer. At the time, I was one of the 5 fastest black or African swimmers in the world. Okay. Now, for some reason, when I touched the water, the spirit of Brasa and Chabra entered into me. And I am the only one of my family that is interested in going back to Africa, going back to Guinea-Bissau, going back to be among my Balanta people. I'm the only one in my family who have this interest. Why? Because when my foot touched that water, that spirit came into me and gave me a mission that I have to accomplish in my life, which is I have to somehow return to the Balanta homeland. And I didn't know about Balanta or Guinea-Bissau until 2010, when I took a DNA test, and the results said, you are a descendant of the Balanta people. It's the first time I ever hear of them. When I returned to Guinea-Bissau, I do a lot of research, and I find the village that Brasa and Chabra came from. And when I went to the village is right on a river. And every person in that village, every child, is a champion swimmer. And they are known as the best swimmers in the entire country. So, this is evidence that even though we were taken from Africa and were away for a long time, 8 generations, 200 years, 250 years, that some things are still born in us that connect us to who we are. No matter how far away we go, whether it's across the ocean or across space to Mars or Jupiter, it will never change my DNA that I am Balanta, that Professor Diop is Bassa. Okay? You are who you are. Okay, so I'm telling you that story as an introduction to tell you something about the present and the future. In the United